Around the same time last year, I was sitting in the copper room when I confessed to Pac Benjamin that I had no idea what I wanted to do for a Greenstone. I think this is a common reality for many of us in this room. We are made to conjure up a passion at the end of primary, middle school, and high school and pretend that we care. That's a scary ask for someone like me, someone who's struggled with passion and motivation for so long in their life. And to be frank, I had no motivation to do this Greenstone before I started. Hi, I'm Ocean. I'm going to disclose to you some of my most personal thoughts, some of my darkest, some of my happiest. This is going to be part confession, part reflection. It's a journey of self-renewal and acceptance. It's a culmination of many different conversations I've had with many different people in this room. Along the way, I'll weave together many different learnings I've had from these experiences, from Buddhist traditions, Greek philosophy, to psychology, to endurance sports, fitness challenges, and much more, to hopefully reshape your understanding of what it means to deal with your emotions and live a more authentic life. Let's begin. I was always deeply insecure of being labeled as lazy, because there was an ounce of truth to it. It's as if before I was born, I chose to be this passionless, passive person, as opposed to others who seem born motivated, born to take the hardest route, born to find a fulfilling life. I doubt anyone in this room would choose a life of boredom versus one where they can be their happiest selves. I hated that part of me that was lazy, and sometimes I felt like it was all of me. So why am I lazy, you might ask? Well, I thought I didn't know the answer for the longest time. But really, it boils down to one thing: fear. Fear of failure. Fear of embarrassment. Fear of not being able to deal with my anxiety. I used to look at people doing things I considered high stress: a job, a race, a passion, a hobby, anything. And I would think to myself, I could never do that, even if I wanted to. People told me that I was overly sensitive, that I was overthinking things, that I didn't have the proper resources to regulate my emotions. So I dug into that. They were right. It turns out our ability to emotionally regulate ourselves is tied directly to something called distress tolerance. Simply put, distress tolerance is how much stress you can tolerate in your life without any consequence. Think of it like a dam. Some dams can withstand earthquakes, hurricanes, storms, and be perfectly fine. Other dams overflow and burst when there's even the lightest drizzle. You can build your dam to be higher, more sturdy. Maybe you can even allow more water to pass through, or channel that water somewhere else. My dam would probably look like something on the right here. The reality was that I would simply allow my dam to overflow most of the time and destroy my surroundings. So, how does this manifest in my life, you ask? Self-sabotage, giving up, avoiding stress altogether. I'd prevent myself from going outside and trying new things because I knew I'd crumble under any amount of stress and feel guilt and shame for doing so. The first step in understanding this pain for me was therapy. My therapist told me that emotions are like parts of ourselves that hijack us to protect us from harm, to protect us from feeling deeper. In essence, each emotion is trying to tell me something. This is when I learned of the transactional stress model. For the first time, I felt like this mapped out what I was doing wrong. Sorry. Give me a second. Okay, I got it. I had insufficient emotional regulation skills and resources to deal with my stress. I would either try to change the emotion that I was feeling, or ignore it completely by binge watching or binge eating. Or I would try to change the situation that was causing the stress, and I would avoid social gatherings or trying out new things altogether. I had no learning from stress. I was simply trying to survive it. This was a big epiphany for me. If I could learn to process my emotions in a more healthy and rational way, I could move toward becoming a happier and healthier person. This isn't just my opinion. Real science backs this up. Life satisfaction has a direct causative relationship with distress tolerance. Simply put, how happy you are is determined by how well you can deal with your emotions. With this realization, I began to understand I wasn't the passionless person I thought I was. It was shame, a lack of compassion for myself. My true self was hidden under layers of fear. We need more empathy for ourselves. I think everyone in this room does. I was once told that our self is the only constant friend in life. So why not treat that friend the best we can? Understand them, their feelings, their sensitivities, their strengths and weaknesses, to best accommodate them, to set them up for success. Now, understanding my pain helped me to hold it with more compassion, but I wanted a way to apply what I had learned through therapy. I started exploring philosophy, in particular, Stoicism. It fit because I was prone to anxiety, fear, and stress. I could learn a thing or two from the greats: Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. I want to make an important distinction here. Stoicism isn't about appearing cold, rational, calculated, apathetic, the alpha. No, rather, it's about humility, gratitude, and understanding. As Aurelius puts it, it's about understanding the power your mind has over any situation. It's about leaning into emotion with impartiality. This, in Greek, is known as ataraxia. Coincidentally, Buddhism has a very similar term known as upekkha, perfect equanimity, perfect impartiality. Now, even more interestingly, psychology has a similar term. It is known as cognitive reappraisal, the reframing of a negative situation into something workable. This, in essence, is the final stage of the transactional stress model. Stress becomes growth. Stress becomes learning. Stress becomes meaning. Psychology, Buddhism, and Stoicism all intersect behind this one principle. All is as your mind makes it. Go ahead, clap. Three distinct systems of thinking, born centuries apart, in different cultures, contexts, through different people, all came to the same conclusion. It was deeply fascinating to me. So I wanted a way to explore this, to enhance my mental strength. I jumped into Vipassana, a 10-day Buddhist meditation silent retreat, where all you can do is meditate from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m., eat 2 meals a day, and sleep. And no, this isn't an exaggeration. You can't read, you can't write, you can't exercise, you can't even talk to anyone there. I didn't make it the whole way through. I dropped out on day 8. I could blame my back pain or the fact that the toilets were right outside of my door and I could hear them flushing all night. But the truth was that my desires came up. I broke down crying multiple times throughout my stay there. I started thinking to myself, what was I doing here? A few months ago, I could barely leave my house, and now I was doing something grown men run away from, crying. It was brutal, by far the hardest thing I had ever done. No distractions, just my thoughts. Emotions were magnified to a scale I had never experienced before. And this time, I had nowhere to run. Ironically, there was no real danger in me staying in Vipassana. My mind was simply convincing itself that there was. This was when I first began to understand what that quote meant. All is as your mind makes it. What I learned there was a propensity towards aversion and craving, different sides of the same coin, both running away from the same thing, pain. I had to learn to observe pain with temperance, pain and pleasure, strength and weakness, not as negatives and positives, but simply states of being. Pain is a necessary part of life. It is congruent with life. And like life, it is impermanent. And therefore, no pain is insurmountable. When I left, it wasn't disappointment I felt. It was gratitude. The gratitude to fail and keep on going. I used to think I had to complete everything I started, to finish everything I did. And statistically, this is impossible. And more importantly, it isn't fun for us. Passion is meant to be fun. It's meant to be fulfilling for us, not for someone else's image of us. I had to learn to challenge myself for growth, not just for suffering. be unashamed of myself, to learn that stress and hardship are a necessary part of life, and are a necessary part of life, and they create meaning and growth. Ataraxia, upeka, cognitive reappraisal. Now, mental health isn't a battle only fought in mind. I'm often told that I'm stuck up in my head, that I have to find ways to move my emotions out of my body, that I have to find a way to increase my distress tolerance through my physical body. I admire endurance athletes, people who do sports for no one but themselves. People who do sports for no one but themselves. They run, hike, cycle for hours on end without a break. It's beautiful to me. It's beautiful to me. The perfect harmony required between mental and physical resolve, coupled with the humility needed to keep on going when no one else is clapping. I wanted to become like that. I wanted to push myself to become like that. So I signed up. A 30-kilometer trail run, a half marathon, and a final 60-kilometer trail run. This time, I was going to prepare myself. I jumped into training. The first challenge I undertook was 75 hard. The rules are simple. Do 90 minutes of exercise a day, read 10 pages of a nonfiction book a day, pick a diet of your choosing, and stick with it for 75 days. Sounds easy enough. However, if you skip any one of these, you restart from day one. In tandem with this, I began a 20-day dopamine detox. In essence, its rules are simple. It's designed to cut off any instant gratification from your life. Porn, music, video games, etc., anything. It's designed to rewire your brain into seeking rewarding activities that give a late dopamine release. I had been working towards this ever since I left Vipassana, so I was eager to undertake this challenge. What I learned from these challenges was the importance and consistency of what we do over the intensity of it. We're so accustomed to thinking that we must try our hardest in everything that we do. We set impossible goals for ourselves. Gain a six-pack in 30 days. Stop drinking and smoking in a week. Quit social media in a day. We feel weak, shame, and guilty when we can't. The reality is, we don't need to be so hard on ourselves. Something a bit challenging is fun. We learn, we grow. Something overwhelming and terrifying, we don't learn or grow. We simply run away from the stress and pain. We have to temper ourselves to more stress and hardship to increase our distress tolerance. My brain started rewiring itself into actually wanting to do workouts. When I flew out for my half marathon, I had to do an airport workout, and that's me right there. And that's me running the half marathon. Yeah. And the first race was quite uneventful. It was, dare I say, easy. Same went for the half marathon. I felt like I overtrained. The real challenge came with the final 60-kilometer trail run. It had 4,000 meters of elevation gain in a day. That's like climbing half of Everest in a day from sea level. By the 30th kilometer near the top of Abang, I was cramping at both of my legs. Like Vipassana, it seemed that hardship was when my distress tolerance was going to be tested. And like Vipassana once again, my emotions felt bigger than they had ever felt before. At first, I simply let these emotions overwhelm me. Then I tried disassociating. The problem with these two coping mechanisms is that they aren't sustainable. There came a time where I had to confront these emotions or simply give up. Then those words came to me again. All is as your mind makes it. And with that, I leaned in. I leaned into my emotions through ataraxia, upeka, cognitive reappraisal, calm observation, emotional balance, and perfect reframing. The last 10 kilometers, I stayed mostly silent. It's as if as soon as I turned to look at the monster in the room, it felt recognized. It felt seen. It no longer felt the urgency to protect me. It simply faded into the background. I'd heard a similar story about Tour de France athletes. The best cyclists weren't the ones who could tune out of their pain the best. It was those who could tune in and use it to their advantage. The truth is that progress is rarely linear. I understand the privilege, conditions, and time I was given don't exist for everyone in this room. However, we all live in Bali, and I don't think there's a single better place on this earth for self-discovery than right here. Understanding yourself is a lifelong journey. The next time you feel pain and emotion and you want to run away from it or distract from it, try leaning in. Those emotions are trying to tell you something. I realize now that my Greenstone wasn't born out of passion. It was born out of failure, reflection, and finally, acceptance. Ironically, in the end, I found what I thought I needed from the start, the passion for growth. Now, this journey has inspired me to wanting to understand the human condition a lot more. And so I'll be studying psychology at a university in the US next year. As long as Trump lets me in. Anyway, let me end with my favorite quote from Marcus Aurelius, one that spoke to my past, one that speaks to me now, and hopefully will speak to some of you in your future. Failure to read what is happening in another soul is not easily seen as a cause of unhappiness, but those who fail to attend to the motions of their own soul are necessarily unhappy. Thank you. Now, I want to thank everyone that made this possible, and especially my dad and my mom. They're two very special people to me. My dad for being the biggest inspiration for this Greenstone. And to my mom, いつも応援してくれてありがとう. I also want to thank Masha, who's in the back of the room there, who taught me to be the most empathetic version of myself, to George and Kristen, who helped me ideate a lot of my Greenstone, and to Suze, who helped me with the nutrition during the challenges. Thank you, everyone.